Coming up on Mountain News this morning, some Kentucky farmers are worried about how a dry spell could affect crops this year. And the Mountain Heritage Festival is back in Whitesburg along with its vendors.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 5:31 on September 22nd. Now let's check in with Chief Forecaster Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this morning. Last forecast of the summer. It's pretty crazy.
Fall's on the way.
I cannot believe it, but we are seeing some fog this morning as far as today goes. And then other than that, it's going to be a warm, beautiful day.
And actually, I'll have your first forecast of the fall tomorrow. So there you go. So I'll be here for both of them.
It's awesome.
All right, let's get into it this morning. We're talking about some action going on in downtown Somerset. I believe that's street sweepers down there this morning. It's hard to tell because it's the yellow lights. Normally I would think, oh, is that like a fire truck or something? No, I think that's just some street sweepers getting the place cleaned up and ready to go. Maybe it froze for just a second. There it is. That's a live camera. But again, 57 down that way, one of the warmer spots in the region. Not too much action. We're seeing temperatures in the 50s and 60s this morning, so kind of mild out there compared to where we have been last little bit when we've seen 40s and 50s. 51 in Clintwood, the cool spot. 64 tied in Moorhead and Jackson for the warmer spots across the state and region. Louisville, 67. That's the warmest spot in the area this morning. 59 in Lexington and Cincinnati. 54 in the Tri-Cities. 59 Bowling Green and Clarksville. 66 CORBIN, Illinois, and 58 in Charleston, West Virginia. Up to about 81 this afternoon. Could be a fairly nice day. Some sunshine early, some partly cloudy skies at times, so a mix of sun and clouds. Get out there and enjoy it. Last mild day before we see a little bit of a cool down this weekend. Olivia?
All right, Brandon, thank you. The Whitley County Sheriff's Department is asking for help in locating a Southern Kentucky man with active warrants for his arrest. 27-year-old Charles Shores of London is believed to be staying in the Canada Town community in Whitley County. Jail records show Shores has a lengthy criminal history dating back to 2014. Deputies ask anyone with information about where he is to contact Whitley County Dispatch at 606-549-6017. An East Tennessee man was indicted last week on additional charges of child sexual abuse. 32-year-old Daniel Jack Goins of Tazewell was originally indicted in April 2020 on more than 100 counts of various crimes against children. After more indictments were handed down by a Claiborne County grand jury, an investigation determined Goins was in Kokomo, Indiana. He was arrested in Indiana and held for extradition. He was brought back to Claiborne County yesterday. 2 people are behind bars following a drug trafficking investigation in Harlan County. Tuesday, multiple law enforcement agencies served 34-year-old Calvin Pace and 39-year-old Candy Ball, both of Lynch, with parole violation warrants. When officers served the warrants, they found money and drug paraphernalia during the search. Both Pace and Ball were taken to the Harlan County Detention Center and are being held there on a $10,000 cash bond. Police in Corbin are asking for help finding a man wanted in regard to a theft case. Take a look at your screen. The Corbin Police Department says the man is wanted for questioning about a theft that happened at a business in Corbin. Police say it happened on Monday. If you have any information about the case, contact Corbin PD at 606-528-1122. All information can be kept anonymous. Officials at the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy have shared some overdose fatality numbers. There were 2,250 fentanyl overdose deaths in 2021 here in Kentucky. That is compared to 1,964 overdose deaths in 2020 and 1,316 overdose deaths in 2019. The month of September brings fall and festivities into focus for many, but some people see the beginning of fall differently. Experts at Mental Health America of Kentucky are looking for ways to help those in need, and people are increasingly picking up the phone to ask for it. Those experts say they have had more than 55,000 calls at the 988 Mental Health Call Center in Lexington.
It is an anonymous hotline, so if you are not ready to give your name, if you're not ready to give your age, you don't have to, and you can call as many times as you need to.
Experts at the Lexington 988 call center say they are encouraged that more people are using the number. Funeral arrangements have been announced for former Kentucky Governor Brereton Jones. Jones will lie in state in the Kentucky Capitol building on Monday. Visitation for Jones will be from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. The family will receive visitors from 3 p.m. until 7 on Monday. A funeral will be held at 10 a.m. Tuesday at Forks of the Elkhorn Baptist Church in Midway. A private burial will follow. Some Kentucky farmers say they are concerned about the recent dry spell. Northern and central Kentucky counties have not had as much rain as southern and eastern Kentucky counties. Livestock producers and grain and soybean farmers in Garrett and Boyle counties say they need more rain to help the bottom line. Livestock producers say the lack of rain is already causing some places where cattle drink from to get very low. Abortion is at the center of the governor's race this week. That's after Governor Andy Beshear's campaign released a new ad featuring a young woman's childhood trauma. It calls out Republican rival Attorney General Daniel Cameron for his stance on the issue, specifically his previous opposition to exceptions for rape and incest. Julia Sandor talked with a political expert about the state of the election and how the issue of abortion could affect the race.
Anyone who believes there should be no exceptions for rape and incest could never understand what it's like to stand in my shoes.
That's just one part of the latest ad from the Beshear campaign, targeting Republican rival Attorney General Daniel Cameron's stance on abortion. Cameron responded to the ad, calling it a disgusting false attack.
I've said if the legislature were to bring me a bill with exceptions, I would sign it.
Before the ad even hit your screens, political expert Dr. Stephen Voss says the issue of abortion already gave Governor Andy Beshear the upper hand in this race.
Beshear is going into re-election now after Roe v. Wade has been struck down. And Kentucky has a trigger law that kicked in, restricting abortion to such a degree that now it's the Republicans who are on the defensive.
Dr. Voss says during the primary, activists or interest groups on the outside can sometimes box or force their candidate to take unpopular positions. He says Democratic activists did not force Governor Beshear to take those sort of positions, but he says the same wasn't true for AG Cameron.
As fewer and fewer voters are available to sway, what we're likely to see is Daniel Cameron throwing a few Hail Marys. Cameron's sort of massaging of his position on the abortion issue, talking about openness to exceptions for rape and incest, might be an example of one of these risky efforts.
In Lexington, Julia Sandor, WKY.
Right now, abortion is banned in Kentucky at all stages of pregnancy. That is after the state's trigger law went into effect after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The only exceptions are to save the life of the mother or to prevent a disabling injury. The ACLU is currently looking for patients who are in Kentucky and need abortion access and are willing to participate in a legal challenge. That's after the Kentucky Supreme Court ruled that healthcare providers could not bring a challenge on behalf of their patients. Yesterday, Governor Beshear announced more help is coming to fix areas devastated by flooding last year. One of those areas is Buckhorn in Perry County. The city was approved for nearly $70,000, which will go toward resurfacing 3 streets. Those are Bill Owens Lane, Buckhorn Lane, and Witherspoon Lane. City officials say their streets are long overdue to be resurfaced. This latest round of funding totals more than $6 million. Kentucky is just 1 week away from the launch of mobile sports betting. Governor Beshear says more than 60,000 accounts have pre-registered to place bets, and it follows retail betting, which started earlier this month. The governor says in the first 2 weeks, more than $4.5 million were wagered in the state. Governor Beshear says that number shows the excitement Kentuckians have to place their bets. The University of Kentucky has announced they are expanding some of their codes of student conduct. Changes the university says will empower students to know their rights. UK's Associate Dean for Student Behavior, Hannah Sims, says the school's newest amnesty policy expansion means that students should not be afraid of getting in trouble when seeking help for a drug or alcohol-related emergency.
We are working on making sure that our policies, both the Code of Student Conduct and the amnesty policy within it, reflect what we talk with students about every day, which is, take care of yourself first.
Sims says procedures are in place to ensure the policy is not abused and that those behaviors are not repeated. She says the amnesty process is going to meet their needs and meet them exactly where they are. Apple Shop in Letcher County is being invited to the White House Climate Summit. President Biden announced the summit to focus on climate resilience. Apple Shop says Executive Director Alex Gibson will attend the summit to discuss developing climate resilience strategies. The organization was heavily damaged by the flooding last year. Gibson says as Apple Shop continues its recovery, it's important to consider the, quote, unpredictable climate. Yesterday was the first full day of the Mountain Heritage Festival in downtown Whitesburg. Chandler Wilcox talked to folks about why this year's festival is an example of continued pride in mountain history.
Inside Heritage Village, community members are sharing valued history.
You can still see the footprint from many years ago, even though we've grown and things have changed.
Not only artifacts, but the vendors are part of the community as well, and they are proud to be here.
I don't live in Eastern Kentucky because I have to. I live in Eastern Kentucky because I want to.
That pride has grown even larger since the July 2022 flood. This is the first Heritage Festival since, and the gathering is presented as a stepping stone in recovery.
We need to look at one another in the community as our brothers, our sisters, our families, small town community.
And in the early stages of the festival, that has been a success.
Thank goodness we have beautiful weather. There's lots of people out. We had the best Wednesday night ever, and we're expecting a great Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
That was Chandler Wilcox reporting. The festival continues through Saturday. Coming up, YouTube announced new AI features for content creators that could make producing content easier for everyone.
And the countdown to fall is on, and some cooler weather will mark the occasion. We'll have the very latest in about 3 minutes.